Good late Tuesday, early Wednesday meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center right now, giving a look at those temperatures across the region. You see 30s here in some spots, but still in the 40s in others. We do have an overall pattern here where there is some cloud cover kind of in the region here, which will help to limit the temperature dropping as much as they could. But we do have that frost potential as you're waking up there on that Wednesday morning. Nothing like what we had like Sunday morning we had 24 degrees there east of Stark in terms of just, hard freeze. But a few spots could get toward that freezing point. I mean, where I'm at here east of Stark right now, sitting at 33 degrees. So, running a little bit lower than some of these other regions here on the map. You do see Palatka, though, at 32 right now. I know as we kind of look at this, you contrast that here with the situation going on out west and that potential out west for problems. I know these are informational tips here from NOAA, graphic from NOAA about just how to evacuate from wildfires. I know a week ago when we were tracking things, the situation was so severe. Now there's still a significant wind threat out there, so folks have to stay alert to rapidly changing conditions. But this is out towards Southern California. Of course, we've seen such a loss of life there, a terrible tragedy for those folks out that way in the Los Angeles area. But let me go ahead and jump back on over right now toward the other mode here as we continue along. I mean, you see all this, of course, here. And we go up north. You see North Georgia here, upper 20s, lower 30s. We had that situation with the winter storm that really impacted them as we were going back there late last week. Midwest really impacted as well. Of course, I mean, you can take that all the way down to Dallas with pretty significant impacts. But you see Western North Carolina, they really, were hit hard last year by Hurricane Helene, just devastating for those folks out that way. Just a terrible, terrible tragedy. And it's been cold up there. They've had a winter weather, so not what you want to see, obviously. Those Western North Carolina communities, I mean, there's Asheville, but then there's some of the outlying areas that you don't want to forget about either. So just something to kind of bear in mind as we see right now. It's, not terribly cold, but still, for those maybe that are without, some indoor type of structures, they have some problems. As we go ahead and look to the north, it is much colder. Look how cold it is in parts of Illinois and Indiana. I mean, look at that one reading there in eastern Illinois, -10 right now there, southeast of Champaign. So that is some really chilly air now. You see a wind chill factor more to the east. Some of these areas you're not seeing as much of the wind play a role, but that is some chilly air up that way as we're looking at things. And then you go towards Southern California, it's not as chilly there, and there is some wind in play. You see a little bit of that, not as much as it could be, but one of these indicators here indicating a little bit of gust around A. It is a little worse, though, at points in this shows, but right now, at least, I'm not seeing as much of that wind as what we were seeing last Tuesday at this time, so that's good, but it still could be an issue because you see all that out there, and we look around here, and you got to think, too. I mean, the wind, when there is that wind around, that's when anything that gets out of hand in terms of a fire, that is when you have your problems really arise here, and they can arise very, very quickly. I mean, the wind doesn't necessarily create fire, but if there's a fire around, then it can spread it very rapidly. And obviously, we saw so many tragic consequences out there toward the west last week. And you just got to keep everything in our thoughts and prayers as we're looking at things. Let me go ahead and see what else we might have here. You can see some of that rain maybe toward areas south of New Orleans. I know there's American Meteorological Society conference going on there. Not terrible weather, 50 degrees or so right now. It had some rain though, looking back a little bit. We were looking back earlier on in the week, kind of some nuisance rain there. Nothing too crazy, but still problematic there. I know, thousands of folks going to that. But as we go ahead and get back on over toward the graphics now, let me go ahead and see the rainfall forecast because I hinted at it in the description of this video here. and that is the chance for rain. It's going to really increase here. This is a pretty aggressive forecast from the Weather Prediction Center as we look toward the weekend, folks. I mean, this is some substantial rainfall that we're talking about, 2-3 inches. We could even have, some minor flooding in spots. So keep that in mind as we're looking at things. This is toward Saturday and toward early Sunday is when we're looking at this. That seems to be the highest chance for rain. It could be at times this weekend a washout here. Now toward Monday, that extended holiday weekend there, MLK Day on Monday, the weather's going to be chillier, but it won't be near as wet, it doesn't look like. So that's some good news for all the events there as we're looking ahead toward Monday. Of course, it is also Presidential Inauguration Day up in Washington, D.C. as well, and we'll be keeping an eye on that forecast. But you can see here, looking there toward like Stark and Tallahassee, we're talking about 2.5 inches of rain or so on average, and most of that's going to be toward the weekend here. So here is maybe in Southwest Florida closer to 3 inches. So, I mean, isolated areas could get even a little bit more than that. I know you can go to the interactive radar available on clutter.com/radar for more information, but we could even have some stronger storms in there on Saturday. Now, this kind of does factor into tail end of precipitation toward next week, too, and there may be a reason why that next week's precipitation, maybe not the severe weather this weekend, though that could, kind of all be in alert mode for what happened next week as we look toward that late Thursday update anyway, but point being is we may have to go into alert mode for next week's precipitation because in Georgia, especially in South Georgia, talking about our area, it may not all be rain. It may be a mixture. It may be sleet. It may be freezing rain, and we could even have some snow in there. So, that's a pretty big deal. But there's not enough confidence in the models to go back into alert mode yet, like we did for the national event here as we were looking last week. We were on the tail end of that, but I really didn't get too much. There were some flurry reports there toward southwest Georgia, but that was about the extent of it, it seemed like, from what I saw on social media. But again, as we're looking at things, this rainfall / precip forecast, I say rainfall, but actually, I mean, there's other types of precip that can impact the area too. It's very rare, but we do have to watch that for, next late Tuesday into early Wednesday, really getting going, and maybe the day on Wednesday could be really problematic. Next week, the 22nd in South Georgia. The models are pretty aggressive with it, quite honestly. I mean, it's the most aggressive probably I've seen models, and I'm not going to sell them yet because they're still out there, but they're really, showing more and more confidence that this could be, our highest chance for wintry precip. And so we've been doing cloud weather 5+ years now. As we go ahead and see here a look at 1977, we had snow here in Florida. Now, right now, toward Bradford County, the chances still are pretty low. The models are not really showing no wintry precipitation getting that far south and in the 62 counties, but the time of year is right for wintry weather, and maybe the saying is, you're saying there's a chance. Well, it's lower by a good bit toward Florida right now. I'm thinking we really have to watch in Georgia or Florida. Well, it's a little more iffy here at this point, if not, more unlikely. But as we go ahead and see the covered areas, so, I mean, Tallahassee, there's a little bit more of a chance for some type of wintry weather. Just the overall pattern generally, allows that to be more likely over there. And then South Georgia here, that's where the focus could very well be, and it could even be for freezing rain here next week. It may not really be much of the fun stuff. Maybe you get a little of it, but it could be more about snow, the fun stuff. It can be fun. Freezing rain is not fun, and some of the model guidance is really aiming in that direction. Sleet isn't fun either, but it's not as dangerous as freezing rain. We really have to be careful because if we get freezing rain, this could be a really big deal depending on how it sets up, because even 1/10 of an inch of freezing rain back when I was at FSU, I think it was 2014, that was a big deal. Classes were canceled because of that. And some of the models are showing, a good bit more than that in South Georgia. So we'll just have to kind of be mindful that we could very well be in alert mode here for our next film update late Thursday, and that wouldn't probably be because of the severe potential toward the weekend with thunderstorm activity, though we would have to cut in and you see the logo red for that and the like. The chance of that right now, you know, is there potentially for some strong to severe storms on Saturday and maybe an early Sunday, but that's not what our bigger concern would probably be because that would be more common in terms of having a low chance, monitor it. Maybe it goes up, a little bit higher, we'll see. But my point being is I'd be more concerned because it'd be more of an anomaly to have the wintry weather. As we see the 7-day forecast here, you see a 10% chance of rain here on this Wednesday, 20% on Thursday. I mean, it is cool. We wish, you could get a little bit of flurry accident here. I kind of doubt it at this point, but you never know. Maybe we'll get lucky here in the next couple of days. But it doesn't seem like it's going to be quite the right setup there overall for that. I mean, we are down to 33 here east of Stark. This factors in everybody, including the beaches. That's why we're always a little warmer than what we are here generally with this time of year for as morning lows. But as we're looking here, of course the beaches are a lot warmer here this time of year in a lot of these patterns. I mean, just looking, they're at 45 around St. Augustine right now. As we're looking at even other areas. Tallahassee's at 47. That's not, something you generally see in a cold weather pattern. But they have more cloud cover around there. And I know we have a frost advisory this morning, so be careful. Plants, again, taking a beating. Those lawns are not green looking right now. In a lot of places, they're brown. But as you see here toward the weekend, we're going to have a high chance of rain, probably the highest we've had all year. It's, just a couple weeks in, but the severe chance is not really high with this right now. We'll watch it again. We'll have to cut in any tornado warning storms within the 62 counties will be on, and there could be a few. I'm not saying there won't be. It's just the rainfall threat here is something that we haven't seen in a while. So it'll make, those grounds wet. We do need the rain, as we've seen in California. They've not had much rain, and we are in a drought here. We really, really do need it. So it's not necessarily a bad thing at all. It's just the timing of it could be a little bit better, being on that weekend. It's warm temperature activity that we were seeing around, too, towards Saturday, towards Sunday as well here. But then as we get toward that Monday, you see, we'll cool down drastically. And, 49, is warm. In terms of a forecast compared to some of our Georgia counties, maybe, having really trouble getting, anywhere near that warm. So we have to factor everybody in, including like Marion and Flagler here toward the south. But 49, as we're looking at things, that is some chilly air for the high temperatures. And I put it on here, straightforward with you. And this very well could go a lot higher. It's just, this is honestly really high, 45% chance for freezing rain and sleet on a forecast going past 7 days around here when climatology wouldn't suggest it. Overall, you don't generally get that, but this would be the right time of year for it, obviously. And, the models are really hinting at it. And, some of them showing snow potential for sure, but the freezing rain signal looks even a little bit higher. And that's actually, something, if you're from around here, you may not understand it as much, but if you're from up north, or have experience in this meteorology from up north, freezing rain is not a good thing at all. I guess it could look pretty if you don't have to get out in it, but if you have to get out in it, you're going to have problems. You're going to have, of course, there's the aspect we might have, some ice hanging off things, but the problem is a lot of that ice comes hanging off power lines, and if there's too much of that, it can cause those to fall, and that, is a possibility in South Georgia. The models keep trending in that direction. We could have a problem here next week. I'm giving you that right now. This could be, we haven't had much winter weather. We've been doing, like I said, cloud weather 5 years. We really haven't had, I don't know if we've had even a winter weather advisory for wintry precip in the 5 years we've been doing this. I think maybe there was one in the far northwestern counties. I'm not sure, but, we also got, there was a special weather statement on Sunday morning, potential for some freezing fog around. May have had a little around Live-O going back this week, but that's nothing compared to winter precipitation. We had the event in 2018 that was so significant, and we started cloud weather in 2019, so about a year and a half, almost 2 years after that event, and we have not really had any wintry precipitation since then. In our viewing circle, of note. So this very well could happen here, and we'll have to gear up for it. South Georgia, a lot bigger chance than North Florida. Start Gainesville right now. The models aren't really showing it. Of course, watch the trends, but there's a much greater chance in South Georgia. I mean, I say 45% chance, and that's for this out is high. I mean, right now I would say probably only about for Start Gainesville at this point, and it can change. I think only about a 10% chance of wintry precipitation about that time frame next week. So that's a lot lower, obviously. Still, more than zero, but probably only about a 10% chance of it right now compared to our South Georgia zones. Once you really get into Georgia, that's where it changes. Now, Tallahassee may be a little bit higher than 10% chance because of the overall pattern, but we'll continue to watch things here, watch the trends, obviously. It will be chillier coming up for the daytime highs. I know last Saturday was miserable with those highs only in the 40s around in a lot of places. This is not weather you typically see here in North Florida, North Central Florida, and the like. So as you're looking at things here, these weather conditions, mostly below average. I mean, maybe getting a little above when we had the rain on Saturday, but you're not going to really want to be adding out, once it's raining. And it could be heavy. It could even have some lightning mixed in, So that's something to keep an eye on. Maybe even some gusty storms, as we've talked about. So, again, that's kind of the storyline right there. That should be about it here for tonight. Thanks so much for tuning in and trusting me here in the Weather Center. Again, we do need the rain. That's going to come toward the weekend. The winter precipitation, a lot of us would like to see snow flurries. We do not, absolutely do not want freezing rain, because that would be a problem, big problem in South Georgia. That can lead to deadly vehicle accidents here. People are not used to that, and it can lead to a lot of power outages depending on the amounts of it. I mean, if it's just a tenth of an inch, maybe isolated to scattered outages, but, give or take. And we still are dealing with the aftermath of some hurricanes that could, play a role here too. It could be a little bit higher, but than you generally see. But if we get like a quarter inch of ice or something like that, or half inch, oh boy, that'd be a bad thing for our South Georgia counties. So let's hope that doesn't happen. We're still far enough out that the models could really shift on us, so we're not going into alert mode yet. So again, we're going to continue to watch things here in the Weather Center for you, and to keep you informed, keep you up to date. And let's just, didn't mean to turn the mic off there. I meant to switch away from the graphics. Let me do that. Okay, here we go. There's your look at things. They look at our temperatures. You see cold to the north, generally, and warmer to the south here, and that's kind of the storyline. Again, didn't mean to turn the mic off there for a second, but to wrap things up here for tonight, there's all the different platforms we're on. Facebook, Casey Cloud WX Cloud Weather, Twitter /X at Cloud Casey, YouTube at Cloud Weather, Twitch Cloud Weather, and cloudweather.com. Of course, YouTube, we can go back and forth when I'm on. If you missed something from a moment ago, you don't have to wait until the video is complete. So that's a good aspect there of using YouTube there at Clouds Weather. Again, that's youtube.com/the @ there, Clouds Weather. So that's the storyline for now. Hope you have a great night. And I'll be back late Thursday with more, unless there's a reason we need to come back earlier. Stay safe out there. I'll be back in about 48 hours or so.